The American Revolution was a time of immense upheaval. Colonists, once loyal to the British crown, took up arms. They fought for independence, for freedom from what they saw as oppressive rule. The 13 colonies stretching along the Atlantic coast became a battleground. Women played a vital role, challenging conventions and shaping the course of history. Before the Revolution, colonial women lived within a clearly defined social structure. Their lives revolved around the home and family. They were mothers, wives, and daughters, their roles largely confined to the domestic sphere. Women were responsible for managing households, raising children, and tending to the needs of their families. Their contributions were essential to the functioning of colonial society, but their voices were rarely heard in the public sphere. The years leading up to the Revolution were not static for women. As tensions with Great Britain escalated, women found themselves increasingly drawn into the political discourse. They participated in boycotts of British goods, refusing to purchase tea or textiles imported from the mother country. Women's traditional roles in managing households and finances proved surprisingly valuable in this time of unrest. This newfound resourcefulness fostered a sense of agency and self-reliance. The printed word held a particular power in the 18th century, shaping public opinion and fueling revolutionary fervor. Women like Mercy Otis Warren and Hannah Adams used their writing to contribute to the political debates of the day. Warren, a playwright and poet, penned satirical plays that critiqued British policies and rallied support for the patriot cause. Adams, a historian, challenged traditional narratives by highlighting the contributions of women in her writings. Through their work, these women chipped away at the barriers that confined women's voices. As the drums of war beat louder, women's domestic lives became intertwined with the war effort. Homes became centers of production, with women taking on the essential task of supplying the Continental Army. They sewed uniforms, knitted socks and rolled bandages, their nimble fingers working tirelessly to support the troops. They transformed their homes into makeshift hospitals, tending to wounded soldiers with compassion and care. Women's unwavering commitment to the cause never wavered. The absence of men on the battlefield created economic opportunities for women. With husbands, fathers, and brothers away fighting, women stepped into roles traditionally held by men. They managed farms, businesses, and shops, demonstrating their business acumen and resourcefulness. Some women even disguised themselves as men to fight alongside their male counterparts. The revolution opened doors for women to challenge traditional gender roles. The American Revolution wasn't fought solely on battlefields with muskets and cannons. Women transformed their domestic spaces into workshops of resistance. Spinning wheels hummed day and night as women spun wool and flax into yarn, weaving homespun fabric for clothing and blankets for the Continental Army. Women organized themselves into groups, pooling their resources and skills to meet the ever-growing demands of the war. They boycotted British goods, refusing to purchase anything that would financially benefit the crown. These women played a crucial role in sustaining the American war effort and ultimately securing victory. As the war dragged on, women's roles expanded beyond traditional boundaries. They took on the responsibilities of managing farms, tending to crops, and caring for livestock. In towns and cities, women stepped into the roles of shopkeepers, artisans, and business owners. Some women, driven by a fervent belief in the cause of liberty, disguised themselves as men to fight on the front lines. Their experiences challenged traditional gender roles, demonstrating that women were just as capable as men on the battlefield. The American Revolution, while ultimately a triumph for the newly formed nation, came at a great cost to all involved. For women, the war brought about a unique set of hardships and challenges. They faced constant anxiety for the safety of their loved ones fighting far from home. They endured shortages of food, clothing, and other essential goods, learning to make do with less. Yet, amidst the hardships, there were also triumphs, as women discovered a newfound sense of agency and independence. The American Revolution, while primarily a political upheaval, sent ripples of change through the very fabric of society. Women, having proven their mettle in the face of extraordinary circumstances, were no longer content to accept the limitations imposed upon them. The ideals of liberty and equality resonated deeply with women, igniting a desire for greater autonomy and recognition. The shared experience of the revolution fostered a sense of camaraderie and solidarity among women. This newfound awareness laid the groundwork for future movements for women's rights. The American Revolution brought a renewed focus on the importance of education, not just for men but for women as well. Enlightenment ideals emphasized reason, individual liberty, and the pursuit of knowledge as essential components of a thriving society. If women were to raise future generations of informed and engaged citizens, they themselves needed access to knowledge and learning. This realization led to a gradual shift in attitudes towards female education. The seeds of this educational awakening would eventually blossom into a movement for greater access to education for women. The American Revolution, for all its transformative power, did not usher in an era of immediate equality for women. Women, despite their invaluable contributions to the war effort, still lacked basic legal and political rights. The rhetoric of liberty and equality rang hollow for many women who found themselves relegated back to the domestic sphere once the war ended. Despite the challenges, the spirit of the revolution continued to inspire women to challenge the status quo. The fight for suffrage, for equal opportunities, and for a society that valued the contributions of all its citizens was a legacy of the revolution. Section 1. A nation built on unequal ground. Women's lack of political representation. The American Revolution, a triumph of self-determination and a testament to the power of collective action, ironically excluded half of its population from the very freedoms it espoused. While the Founding Fathers boldly declared that all men were created equal, the reality for women remained starkly different. They were conspicuously absent from the halls of power, their voices muted in the newly formed government. The right to vote, a cornerstone of democratic principles, was deemed the exclusive domain of men. This exclusion from the political sphere was not merely an oversight, it was a deliberate choice rooted in deeply ingrained societal beliefs about women's roles and capabilities. Women, it was argued, were too emotional, too easily swayed by sentiment, to be entrusted with the weighty matters of governance. Their domain was the home, the private sphere, where their influence was to be confined to matters of domesticity and child-rearing. This separation of spheres, while seemingly natural to many at the time, served to perpetuate a system where women's voices were silenced and their contributions to the nation's political life were rendered invisible. The newly formed government, eager to establish its legitimacy and assert its authority, clung to traditional notions of gender roles as a way to maintain order and stability. The revolutionary fervor that had united colonists against British rule did not extend to a radical reimagining of gender relations. The fight for liberty, it seemed, had its limits. Women, while acknowledged for their contributions to the war effort, were expected to gracefully retreat back into the shadows of domestic life, their political aspirations deemed irrelevant, even dangerous. Section 2. Separate spheres, unequal opportunities, the economic realities for women. The American economy, in the aftermath of the Revolution, underwent a period of significant transformation. The transition from a colonial system reliant on agriculture and trade to a burgeoning nation with ambitions of industrial growth brought about new opportunities and challenges. Yet, these changes did not affect men and women equally. While men were encouraged to pursue entrepreneurial ventures and seek their fortunes in the expanding marketplace, women found themselves largely confined to the domestic sphere, their economic activities limited by societal expectations and legal constraints. The concept of separate spheres dictated that a woman's place was in the home, tending to the needs of her husband and children. Her labor within the household, while essential to the functioning of the family unit, was largely undervalued and unpaid. She was financially dependent on her husband or father, her access to economic resources controlled by men. Legal barriers, such as the lack of property rights for married women, further restricted their economic autonomy. While some women, particularly widows and single women, managed to carve out a niche for themselves in the business world, They often faced discrimination and skepticism. They were denied access to credit, excluded from guilds and professional organizations, and their contributions to the economy were often overlooked and undervalued. The economic landscape of the newly formed nation, while brimming with potential, remained largely unwelcoming to women seeking financial independence and recognition for their skills and labor. The ideals of equality and opportunity, so eloquently expressed in the Declaration of Independence, seemed to apply only to half of the population. Section 3. The Power of the Pen and the Platform. Early Voices for Women's Rights. Despite formidable barriers, women in post-revolutionary America refused silence. Inspired by the revolution's spirit, they sought a voice in shaping their nation. Denied the ballot, they used the pen and platform to advocate for rights. Judith Sargent Murray and Mercy Otis Warren challenged gender roles. Murray argued for women's education and equal opportunities. Warren critiqued societal norms and promoted women's contributions. These advocates laid the groundwork for future generations. They planted seeds of awareness and challenged prejudices. They recognized education as a tool for social change. Expanding women's access to knowledge aimed to create a just society. Their voices, though often drowned out, were a beacon of hope. A legacy forged in resilience. Abigail Adams and the fight for recognition. Abigail Adams, wife of John Adams, stands as a towering figure in early American history. More than just a politician's wife, she was a woman of keen intellect and unwavering principles. Her eloquent letters offer a rare glimpse into the mind of a woman grappling with a nation founded on liberty and equality. Abigail's plea to her husband, "Remember the ladies," was a bold demand for recognition. Her legacy lies in her spirit, inspiring generations of women to demand their rightful place in democracy. Defying expectations, demanding respect. Deborah Sampson and the women who fought. While Abigail Adams fought for women's rights from the parlor, other women took a more dangerous path to challenge gender norms. Deborah Sampson from Massachusetts defied societal expectations and risked her life for liberty. In 1782, at 21, Sampson disguised as a man and enlisted in the Continental Army. She understood the risks of humiliation and punishment if discovered. Driven by belief in the cause, she stepped into a world of hardship and danger. For over a year, Sampson fought alongside men, enduring military life and injuries. She was wounded twice, once by a musket ball and another by a saber cut. Fearful of discovery, she treated her wounds herself. Her story, once secret, became a legend of inspiration. Sampson's bravery challenged assumptions about women's capabilities. Her story stands as a testament to women's contributions to the American Revolution and the power of the human spirit. The Unfinished Revolution, a legacy of progress and ongoing struggle. The American Revolution, while a pivotal moment in the fight for liberty and self-determination, marked not an end, but a beginning for women's quest for equality. It was a period of profound transformation, a time when traditional social structures were tested and women's roles expanded beyond the confines of the domestic sphere. The echoes of revolutionary ideals of equality, liberty, and self-governance resonated deeply with women who had tasted freedom and found themselves yearning for more. While the revolution did not usher in an era of immediate equality for women, it planted seeds of change that would continue to grow and blossom in the generations to come. The contributions of women to the war effort, their resilience in the face of hardship, and their unwavering commitment to the cause had challenged deeply ingrained societal norms and paved the way for future progress. The fight for suffrage, for equal opportunities in education and employment, and for a society that valued the contributions of all its citizens, became the legacy of the revolution, a testament to the enduring power of the ideals it espoused. The struggle for women's rights in America became inextricably linked to the nation's founding narrative, a reminder that the pursuit of a more perfect union required a constant reckoning with its own founding principles. The ideals of liberty and justice for all, so eloquently expressed in the Declaration of Independence, served as both an inspiration and a challenge, a reminder that the promise of equality remained unfulfilled for half of the population. The echoes of revolution, inspiring generations to fight for equality. The echoes of the American Revolution resonated far beyond the battlefields. Inspired by their ancestors, women continued the fight for equality. The struggle for women's suffrage, for control over their own bodies and property, for equal access to education and employment, became a defining feature of the American experience. The spirit of the American Revolution provided a powerful framework for women to demand their rightful place in society. The language of rights resonated deeply with women. They organized, they protested, they wrote, they spoke out, and they refused to be silenced. The journey towards equality was long and arduous, but the spirit of the American Revolution continued to inspire and guide the way. The stories of women like Abigail Adams, Deborah Sampson, Judith Sargent Murray, and countless others served as a reminder that the fight for justice is an ongoing process. Each victory stands as a testament to their courage, resilience, and belief in collective action for a just society.